We are here with this peace, love, and unity activation session. And for anyone who doesn't know me, welcome. Firstly, my name is Luke, and I was really inspired to create this yesterday because my wife, who is my best friend and one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, super sensitive being, was really upset yesterday about some of the things that are happening in the world. And I've been there. I've been so angry about the things in the world. I've been down the rabbit holes and looked at the things on the earth that are not very pleasant to look at. And then I always come to this place of, so what can we do about that? How can we be these beings that can actually create change? And I believe that we are the generation that will bring peace to this earth. I believe that we are the generation that will end the wars, that will create abundance for everyone. And I cannot imagine in 40 years' time, when I'm 75 years old, that there can still be poverty or famine on the earth. It's just not possible. I remember when I was a child, there were these adverts about children in Africa not having water and not having food. How in 30 years have we not resolved that? It's absolute insanity to me, the way that our world is set up currently. And we can be the ones who can change that. So I'll share a brief bit of background about myself and tell you why I'm hosting this today. And then we'll do an actual activation. And I've been doing these kind of events for 7 years now, since 2016. I had this big awakening experience. I got this connection to this energy that creates everything, whatever you call that. And I've been on this real beautiful journey, because what it showed me is this thing called unity consciousness. Let me know in the chat or in the comments if you know about unity consciousness, if you've explored it. And it's this concept that there is just one energy. There's just one thing, and we're all a part of that one thing. And I'm a big geek. I love quantum physics, and that's what quantum physics shows too. There's just one energy. We're all that. And this is a fascinating concept, because we live our lives and we're brainwashed, most of us in most societies, not in all, to see ourselves as separate from each other and separate from the earth and from nature. And so we're very selfish. I was for most of my life. And now for the last 7 years, I'm running workshops and seminars, and I teach meditations, and I have a healing modality, a quantum healing modality called QRIT, Q-R-I-T. And we're teaching people how they can actually heal themselves from disease, physical, mental, emotional, energetic, how we can upgrade the whole world. So we're not just treating symptoms, we're actually reforming the entire healthcare system. And there's so many ways we can change the systems on the earth. And there's this idea that if you want to create change, don't fight the old systems, build new ones, build new alternatives. And I really like that, and I see it happening. And I know some of you who are here today, and I know you're doing that already. You are getting programs into schools, and you've started your own conscious companies, and it's giving people an alternative, showing them, hey, do you know you can actually be happy? You can actually be full of joy. You don't have to go and get drunk and abuse drugs and alcohol and all of these things. It's actually, the world's pretty beautiful if you just turn off the news. Or if you watch the news through a different lens. I know some people who choose to consciously tune into what's happening in the world, so they can look for solutions to these problems. And so one of the things that I've done over those years is develop this ability to be able to tune in my meditation. So I've done thousands of hours of meditation all over the world, learning from all different great masters. And when I'm in that state, I call it the quantum state, where you're able to access the quantum field. I get these downloads and these messages. And I received one last year. I was in America, and I call it the 2027 plan. And I'm just going to share this with you to set the scene before we do the activation. And if you align with this plan, if this feels good for you, you can just put love and energy into it. That would be amazing. And it might sound like the craziest plan you've ever heard, or it might just make the most sense of anything you've ever heard too. And so some people on the earth right now have a 2030 plan. And that 2030 plan is basically to turn humans into little bees that live in these big skyscrapers like a beehive, and we have barcodes, and we're just not into that plan at all. And so this 2027 plan supersedes that plan and will make that plan irrelevant. This is what I got told. When I say I channeled it, what basically happens is I have my notepad, I have my pen, and my hand just starts writing. And what comes through is usually incredible. And so it told me that by 2027, the majority of the world, so that's 51% or more, will be living in abundance, thriving. So right now, most people on earth are in survival mode. They're worrying about food, they're worrying about their rent, they're worrying about their bills, and they're working in a job they don't even like just to pay these imaginary things. Do you know money is imaginary? And it's completely made up. Someone just made it up one day and we all agreed to it. It's a social construct. Isn't that fascinating? And how many of us let it rule our lives because we haven't yet figured out how to play the game yet, how to use this beautiful game. And some of you have. I know some of you have freed yourself from those particular systems. And so if 51% of people on the earth are thriving, that means they have plenty of food, means they feel safe, then they're able to do self-development, create businesses, actually focus. Instead of spending 40 hours a week in a job that they don't like, they could spend those 40 hours making the world a nicer place, being better parents. How crazy is it that most parents work and leave their children in preschools or with unconscious childminders, which the government subsidizes, by the way? What if the government subsidized community schools instead? There's so many different ways we can change the world in our generation. And it's literally the swipe of a pen for someone. Someone in the UK in around 2020, they swiped a pen and they created £100 billion to create testing centers. They could swipe that same pen tomorrow and create £100 billion and end world hunger. That could happen tomorrow. Maybe in this activation, we can be the ones who initiate that change. A lot of things happen when you start to play at this quantum level. And I'll just explain a little bit of the science of that as well. So quantum physics proves, this is not any woo-woo spiritual thing, this is just science and physics. It proves that every single particle is connected to every other particle in the entire cosmos by this quantum web. And it's something called quantum entanglement. And there's experiments that they do that prove this. And what that means is, right now, if you're able to be sensitive enough to it, you are connected to every person in the world, every tree, every animal, to all the waters, to all the stars, to whatever you believe this cosmos is. And so when we start to play at that level, if we start to upgrade ourselves, if we upgrade our particles, it ripples out and affects all the others. So thank you all so much for gathering here today. And we're on a big mission by 2027 to get 51% or more of the population living from this place of unity consciousness. And when I got shown that, it sounds amazing. And when you live in unity consciousness, just for anyone who doesn't know about that term yet, it's where you see that everybody is a part of you. Everybody is a part of the oneness. And so it'd be like you have 5 fingers on your hand and one of the fingers is really hurting. Like, you give that finger attention. If you meet someone who's hungry and you have an abundance of food, you give them food. If you have loads of wealth, and there are people since 2020 who were billionaires who have now become trillionaires while other people are starving, and millions of people starve every year. It's an insane system. All we have to do is just change the system. A few swipes of a pen. And so can we do that? I believe we can. That's what I was told. I was also told by 2027 that the majority of the world, so again, 51% or more, would be using holistic healing and quantum healing. So they will be the mainstream healthcare systems. And why this is really important is if people are actually healthy, they have so much more energy to put into projects. If any of you are parents, I have a 3-year-old and a 7-month-old. If we get a great night's sleep, if the children sleep well, we are like superhumans the next day. And if we don't sleep well and we have a rough night, it really has an impact, you know, and this is what most people are like. Their job exhausts them. We live in these houses so isolated from each other in the West. It's not like that in all countries. My wife is from Pakistan, and in Pakistan, they have communities. When someone gives birth, the whole community helps out. The mum actually in Pakistan is not allowed to do any chores after she's given birth. Everyone takes care of her. It's not even like we have to change the whole world. That's already happening. It's just we have to bring that in, or we can bring that in to actually be a community of people. So we want to create healthy people. We want to create abundant people. And it told me by 2027, we will reform the education system completely. The way we teach our children, this next generation. The conventional schooling system, it really limits their creativity, turns them into these obedient workers. And so we're breaking free of all of that. We want them to be empowered. We want them to know how special they are. And the food production system is a big project we're doing as well. And so I got told to create this group called the Visionaries. And the Visionaries is a group, we meet once a month online, and we've been meeting now for about 6 months. And every month, people come and they share their ideas of how we can make the world a better place. We have about 800 people in that group right now. So you could come if you have a project, if you have an idea, and I invite you to come. Our next conference is on the 6th of November. It's a Sunday. It's from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. UK time. I'll send out an email with all the details to everyone who's here as well, and I'll post a link below for everyone who's watching live. This particular conference on the 6th of November is going to be called the Peace on Earth Conference. I'm going to invite all of you who are here today, come and join us. Share your ideas of how we can make the world a better place. Share your ideas of how we can create peace on earth, how we can be the generation that creates, whatever you call it, heaven on earth. Many people believe that we can live in paradise. And we already do, depending on where you look. This world is very, very beautiful, everyone. If you turn off the mainstream media and if you go and look at, there are positive news channels. Do you know that? There are positive news stations. You can go, there's Positive News Network, the Good News Network. You can go and look at these. They tell you all the amazing things that are happening in the world. Imagine if that was on the mainstream media every day. Everyone's just being shown how beautiful the world is. This person's figured out how to clean up the oceans, and this person's created a new program for children to help them overcome their fears, and you know, all these cool things that we could show instead of what we do. So I share all of that with you just to paint the picture of what I've been doing, and the Visionaries has been growing and it's been really great. And you don't even have to be the person who does the thing. Maybe you just come with the idea. Maybe you're just the person who sparks the idea and then someone else implements it. Or maybe you build a team, maybe everyone volunteers, and maybe someone has the investment, and maybe someone has the skills, and someone's the project manager, and you can lead your projects that way. And if we all work together, how quickly can we transform this world? And I'll just share a few more things, and then we'll go into the activation. So I was speaking with a really wonderful being recently, and there's this idea that more people have woken up in the last 3 years than they did in the last 30 years. And I've asked a few people about that, some people who've been awakened for decades, and they said, yeah, I've seen that. More people have woken up in the last few years than in the last few decades. And isn't that phenomenal? So what is possible now in the next 3 years with all of these new beings bringing their energy, bringing their love, bringing their compassion, raising this new generation of children, being conscious parents and starting conscious companies? And we have these citizen journalists now. You see this new wave of journalism where everyone's becoming a journalist. And so the truth is just coming out so quickly. Some kind of psyop is on the news, and then 20 minutes later, you've got the truth. It's like, wow. And there's this idea, a lot of people talk about like an apocalypse or an Armageddon kind of situation. And if you're into etymology and you look at the meaning of words, it really means the lifting of the veil, like the end of the illusions. That's what it means. And that's what I believe we're in right now. And it's super exciting for me. I think this is, I call it the Great Awakening. I think it's such a wonderful time to be alive. It is very challenging as well. There's a lot of people suffering, a lot of animals suffering, the earth, rainforests being decimated, oceans being polluted. You know, you could have a reason to cry every single day if you chose to focus on that. Wars and genocides in all different countries. And this particular gathering today was sparked by what my wife saw. And some of the events that are happening in the world right now. So I call the conference the Peace on Earth Conference, because we can send all of our love to one particular region, and maybe that's important, but every continent has genocides happening right now. The governments around the world are making the people sick. The food systems around the world are making the people sick. People are profiting from wars, and the banks fund both sides. And so we can resolve one country's problems, but all the other countries as well. If we can tackle this on a much bigger basis, if we can be these beacons of peace and love and unity, I think it's going to be so phenomenal. And so the final way that we're doing this right now is, I got told to launch this modality, this curate modality, which is quantum regression and integration therapy, and it helps people to heal from anything in their life. So I've been told to create 1 million new quantum healers by 2027. So that's a huge thing that I'm doing. I'm bringing together the master healers and bringing together the people who want to revolutionize the healthcare system. And as you can imagine, that puts a pretty big target onto someone's back, you know, when you start challenging these big systems. And I just said to the cosmos, whatever you like to call it, I said, I will be brave. I will say the things that people don't dare to say. I'll go on the TV channels. I've had my own TV show before. I've had my own radio shows. I've been a public figure for a while now, and I've spoken on hundreds and hundreds of podcasts. And it's like, I will go and say these things, because if we don't do that, who will? If we don't speak our truth, if we don't be brave, if we don't share, if we don't create this change, what will the world be like for my 3-year-old daughter in 10 years' time? And that is so inspiring to me. And I literally had my social medias deleted in 2020. So I had 20,000 followers on my Facebook and 5,500 followers on my Instagram. And I shared a video of these doctors saying you don't have to be scared in 2020. And I logged in the next day and my accounts were taken down. And if they take my accounts down, guess what? You make new ones. And whatever happens, it's all okay. Everything's okay. And I'm willing to take the risks, because I think the stakes are huge right now. And it's not coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of being excited to create this change. What an opportunity we have. Everything that's happened to you in your whole life has set you up to be this perfect person you are now, with the lived experience, with the intellect, with the openness to be able to come and transform the world. So if you do, like me, want to become a speaker or a healer, or if you are brave enough to come and step out, come join our curate tribe. We'd love to have you. And we all are on a mission to end sickness and disease, because most diseases can be healed. You don't have to be on drugs for your whole entire life. So that is my concise summary of where I've been up to, and I'm going to drop now into a process and activation focused around peace, love, and unity. And my intention for this is that you get whatever is in your highest good and in the highest good of all. And there's a few different aspects to this. So you might personally receive some great benefit from this today. You might be upgraded. But also, just you being here, you might be upgrading the other people. And there'll be a part in the process where we will tune into this quantum field, and we'll see what we can shift for the whole of the earth, humanity, and the entire cosmos. So thank you again for being here. So getting nice and comfortable in your seat. We'll probably be in this process for about 25 minutes. Getting nice and comfortable. And if you're able to, just closing down the eyes if it's safe for you to do that. And taking a deep breath into your belly and out. And these belly breaths are really important. It's called abdominal breathing. And something really special happens on the out breath. Most people miss it because we're not taught how to breathe. So I invite you to take a deep breath into the belly and out. See if you can notice that little moment of peace you get on the out breath. Try again. Take a few more deep breaths and see if you can witness this moment of nothingness. Amazing. So this is the breath we'll come back to. And this is one of the easiest and fastest ways to access this quantum state, this quantum field. There's a book called The Chimp Paradox, and it talks about how we have a monkey mind and it can only do one thing at once. And so if you find you are in your head at any point throughout the process, just take a deep breath into the belly and out. And bring yourself back into presence. And one of the most important concepts that we teach in Cura and in this kind of modality is that your body and your brain, they don't know the difference between something you vividly imagine and something that's really happening. And so just like when you have a dream and you wake up and it's so real and you're shaking and sweating, it works on that same principle. If you allow your imagination to flow, it really does start to shift things. It can rewire your brain. It can rewire your nervous system. It can turn you into a more peaceful, loving being connected to unity consciousness. That is possible for you in the next minutes. And all you have to do is just breathe, soften, relax, and I'll guide you through this process. So just allow your imagination to flow. And different people perceive things in different ways as well. So there's no good or bad or right or wrong. However you perceive it is perfect for you. Just allow yourself to go with it. Some people see things really clearly, like clairvoyance. Some people hear things. Some people get more of a feeling. Some people it's more of a knowingness. Just allow yourself to go with whatever your superpowers are, trusting that you'll be guided in the perfect way. And it's always great to start a process by feeling what it feels like to be really grounded. So feel what it feels like to be really connected to your body, to the earth. And like I said, when you start imagining being connected and grounded, it starts to trigger all these different chemicals being released in your brain. Your brain is the most powerful pharmacy in the entire cosmos. It releases all of these chemicals that actually make you grounded and connected. So just feeling the feeling, being with it, calling it in, literally changes your biology. And there's no spiritual dogma here. You don't have to be aligned with any kind of religion. You don't have to have any kind of belief system. Whatever your faith or background is, it's absolutely perfect. Just tuning into whoever or whatever you believe in. I like to call it the energy that creates everything. For me, it's the energy that turns an apple seed into an apple tree, makes an apple tree produce apples every year. That intelligence, that energy, that life force. Just tuning into that and remembering that there is only one energy. That is what you are made of. You are the energy that creates everything. That is what we all are at the deepest level. And so we can never be disconnected from it, but we can choose to intensify that connection if we'd like to, just by breathing deeply into the belly and out and calling that in to work more harmoniously with this energy that creates everything. Perhaps you could ask, whether you believe this is your subconscious mind or whether you believe it's a higher power, it really makes no difference. You could ask your body, your being, to help you to be in the highest possible energy you're able to be in this moment. And as you breathe in and soften and relax, maybe you can feel your vibration starting to raise. I love to imagine that I'm surrounded in the highest possible frequency of love I'm able to perceive, and I see it. For me, it has a white color. So I'm literally surrounded in this beautiful white love. You couldn't be surrounded in whatever color is true for you or whatever feeling is true for you. And I breathe that into my body and into my being. And when I breathe that love in, I can feel it going into my cells, into my DNA. If it has a color for you, maybe you can just breathe that color in. Feel what that feels like to fill yourself up with love or whatever you are tuning into as your highest frequency that's in your highest good right now. And something really magical happens here. It's like when you turn a bright light on in a room, all of the shadows, they disappear. When we fill ourselves with love, when we fill ourselves with these higher vibrational energies, it starts to literally shift our body and our being. It starts to literally change our cells, our DNA, turns on some of our epigenetics. Maybe just take a moment to enjoy that and feel, is there any part of your body that could benefit from this love energy or whatever it is that you're breathing in, tuning into? So I can feel right now there's a lot of energy happening around my brain. So you have these neural networks in your brain and you have something called neuroplasticity. So you can rewire your brain when you're in this kind of state. This is called the theta brainwave state. We call it the quantum state. Maybe you can feel your brain just starting to rewire itself in a more optimal configuration. Our brains are wired up through our childhood and the events that happen to us and our environments. And your subconscious mind flows in the path of least resistance. So coming here and consciously choosing to align more with peace. Maybe peace has a color to you. Maybe you can breathe that color in. Maybe it has a feeling for you. Choosing to align more with love, to be a being filled with love. And choosing to be aligned with unity, oneness, seeing all the different aspects of this beautiful world as parts of the whole. All the people as our brothers and sisters, no matter where they were born, no matter the color of their skin or what choices they make. At the deepest level, seeing we are all a part of this oneness. And that's something you could explore for thousands of hours in your meditation. And I do, and I have still constantly finding deeper and deeper levels of that unity. And as you can feel your brain starting to rewire itself, maybe you can feel your nervous system too. As you breathe these energies and any energies that are in your highest good, maybe you see some other colors. As you breathe those into your body and fill yourself up completely, see your nervous system starts to soften and loosen and reprogram itself too to the highest possible configuration it's able to be. Nice. And again, our nervous systems get wired up over the course of our life, and we get these things that trigger us, and it's an automatic response until we come and we purposefully work through the triggers. And that's one of the things that we teach with Cura, is how you can go into finding the root causes of why all of these things show up. But right now, if you just bring these energies in, you might even start to feel things start to be released, and letting go of anything that no longer serves you. And we can just ask that any energies you let go of are transmuted into love and sent to the highest and best place for them at this time. And you don't need to worry about that. It will all be handled in the perfect way. And if you remember, in physics, they teach you that energy can never be created or destroyed. It's only transferred. And so just imagining these energies transferring, asking that you receive all of the wisdom from them, that you get the insights of why these things showed up in your life, but just letting go of anything that doesn't serve you anymore. Any decisions you ever made in your life, any things that you believe were mistakes, any programs that you picked up, whether consciously or subconsciously, any of the hypnosis or brainwashing from the media, from our family, from our societies, from our governments. Maybe you can even see or feel stone tablets or scrolls. Maybe there's things, ancient ancestral patterns passed down through your DNA, through your lineage, or in the collective consciousness. You can play with this to the level of your ability that you feel confident and comfortable with, trusting that it will all be handled in the perfect way. And perhaps you are one of the people like myself who feels they're here to break these generational cycles and transform this whole world so the next generation can thrive in all ways. Maybe you're already doing that. Maybe you can see how just by being, you transform the entire world. And feeling what that feels like, to be lighter. It's an interesting phrase, isn't it? To be lighter, to be more light, to be filled with more light, to be filled with more love. And one of my absolute favorite teachers and mentors called Wayne Dyer, he shares on stage this idea that if you squeeze an orange, what comes out? It's always orange juice. There's no chance it will be apple juice. It's always orange juice because that's what's inside. And if you squeeze an angry person, what will come out? It will be anger because that's what's inside. And if you squeeze a loving person, what will come out? It will be love. And I used to be so angry, and now I'm so peaceful. And it's a beautiful thing when I'm squeezed by life. when there's stresses, when challenges arise, because there's challenges. Cleaning up the oceans and stopping people decimating the rainforests, and helping the children and helping the animals, and whatever your mission is here, changing the healthcare system, the education system. The challenges make it interesting, they make it exciting. So when you're squeezed, how will you respond? And you can do this meditation over and over again. You can go on this journey over and over again until peace and love and unity become your default, if that is something you feel is in your highest. And so as we start to change ourselves, if we remember now, coming back to this quantum physics where we are connected to every other particle in the entire cosmos by this quantum field. So that means right now you're connected to every person in Australia, every person in America, in the jungle, in the desert, in the Arctic. You're connected to every animal and every tree and every being and every particle. And sometimes don't you think of someone and they call you straight away? How does that work? Well, we're connected. And so from this place now, if you are filled with love and peace and unity, you could imagine that just beaming out from your heart. Imagine that beaming out, being received, planting these seeds in the hearts and minds of every being that's open to receiving it. Not forcing anyone to open or blossom before their time, but for the people who are open to receiving it. And there are many, many, many of us all over the world right now. It's kind of like your heart is like a flower, which is a bud, and it just opens and blossoms at the perfect time. And if you force a flower bud to open before it's ready, it doesn't work. If you force a butterfly out of its cocoon before it's ready, it doesn't work. So being this loving being, unconditionally loving from this purest place. And if you've ever explored the Institute of Heart Math, it's a fascinating institute. They've been studying the human heart for decades. And they measured that every single time your heart beats, it sends out a wave, it sends out a pulse. And they can detect that pulse with machinery, with technology. And so every time your heart beats, it sends out your frequency, your unique energy signature to the entire cosmos. Every thought you think beams out into the collective and to every other part of the collective. Every time you choose a loving thought, every time you choose to be peaceful instead of angry, every single time you choose to help one of your brothers or sisters or an animal or nature, where you decide to be kind and live harmoniously, that creates these ripples that go out. And I love to contemplate these ripples. If you just imagine, if you help one of your friends to be more happy, how many people will they help in their lifetime? If you help a child to know how loved and special they are, and they now go through their whole life knowing that because of the way you influence them, instead of them being in fear or feeling alone. What's the ripple effects of that? How will that child now influence the world? And you do this every day just by being. Maybe some of you are public speakers like me and you're being really brave and you create ripples to millions of people. And maybe some of you are just doing it in your family and communities. Maybe some of you are doing it on yourselves, and that's so amazing. Some of you are doing it for the animals, and some of you are doing it for the oceans, and some of you are doing it for the rainforests. There's an amazing series of books called The Conversations with God books by Neil Donald Walsh. And if you ever go and read them, they're quite fascinating. And it's this idea that in book 3, it talks about how humans will get to a point where we no longer find violence entertaining. And in the books, it says, when humans no longer find violence entertaining, there will be no war. But as long as people like playing video games where they are at war, and they like watching movies where they're at war, that keeps being created by the collective. And so what is the power of all of us coming together and beaming peace? Being entertained by peace, being entertained by love, being entertained by unity. That's what brings me the greatest joy. I find no entertainment or joy in watching the mainstream news, watching these conflicts all around the world in all these different countries, and it's in every continent. So if we can be these beacons of peace, if we can beam that out, if we can inspire others to do that too. I was raised playing very violent video games, watching very violent movies, because it's the social norm in the West. Now I don't even listen to mainstream pop music. I don't like how it feels in my body. And we can become really sensitive in an empowered way. We can learn how to use our sensitivity as a superpower. We can become sensitive to toxic foods and no longer consume them, and stop paying people to produce them. If we stop paying them, they'll stop making them. If we stop listening to the songs that instill violence and hatred, people will stop making them. Can you imagine if all the movies in the world were about love and kindness instead of being about tragedy? How that can shift in this lifetime. And so never underestimate the power of you being. Never underestimate the power you have just with your thoughts and with your heart, with your mind. And I'd love to invite you now just to feel how you feel. And this is a beautiful opportunity if you have a specific cause that you feel really passionately about. Because I believe we're all here for different reasons. And tuning into the news and seeing every bad situation, every challenge in the world, it's overwhelming because we're not able to process that very easily. So if you tune in now and maybe you just ask whoever or whatever you believe in, or your subconscious mind, if you just ask, what am I here to do in this lifetime? Or at least by 2027, where would I be best putting my focus? What shall I be creating? And see what comes up, and you might write down the answer. Again, there's no good or bad or right or wrong, just go with it and see. And I like to ask, and perhaps you can ask this too. Ask to be shown the grandest version of the greatest vision of what's possible for you in this lifetime. So ask to be shown the grandest version of the greatest vision of what's possible for you in this lifetime. And you might see it very clearly, just like a movie. You might feel it, might be annoyingness. However you see it is perfect for you. Just see that scenario of you, the grandest version, the greatest vision in this lifetime. How are you? What is your energy like? What do you do? What have you created? What are you creating? And just allow yourself to explore this. If you have any questions you want to ask, just in this realm of being in this quantum state, where the realms of what's real and what's not are all mushy and blurred. It's a fun game to play. What would be really exciting for you in this lifetime? And you don't have to worry about the how. We can come into that later. What would be a great direction? I like to see that we have this, I call it the quantum GPS system. It's kind of like the map app on your phone, and you can plug in this destination if this feels exciting for you. If you've seen something that you would love, it's kind of like watching a movie trailer. And you can then choose if you want to go and participate in that movie where you're the lead actor, and you get to go and play this game and find the team and find the support and enjoy the creation of it, because we are creators. Most people in the world are so busy consuming, and that's one of the challenges. Can we switch them from being consumers, turn them into creators? How quickly can we change the world if 51% of the population are living in abundance in the next 3-4 years? Imagine the conscious companies we'll create if we just stop feeding and funding the unconscious companies. Imagine if we had people in these positions of power who were living in unity consciousness, living in love and peace, who genuinely wanted the best for the people, and who put people over profits and the good of the planet over profits. Maybe you are one of those people, or maybe we can call them in as we create a whole population of empowered, sovereign beings who know their truth, who know who they truly are and what's truly important to them, and who feel empowered enough to go for their dreams and turn their visions into reality. That's what we're creating here with all the events I do, with the meditations, with all the people who I help. Every single thing is a ripple. Every single one of you here now, you are being upgraded to the level that you choose to be, and you can breathe, soften, relax, and ask to be upgraded to your optimal potential right now. You can ask for any final upgrades to be made to your physical, mental, emotional, and energetic bodies, for your brain and your nervous system to be rewired in the optimal way. Maybe you can feel your spine straightening. Maybe you can feel yourself becoming more light. And thanking whoever or whatever you believe in for this process, and for whatever you got shown as a possible potential for you. And if you believe it, and I really do, you are connected to every particle in the cosmos. And so you can call out to your team, to your tribe. If you imagined you had a magic microphone right now, and whatever you said, whatever you beamed out, you could say it out loud, or you could say it in your heart, that every single human on the planet would hear your message. What would you want to say for the next 60 seconds? Just beam that out. Let them know what you have come to know, what you have come to share. Just finishing up there, any final words you have to share with your friends or your family, your brothers or sisters anywhere around the world, with the plants or the animals or the oceans or the mountains, whatever it is you're here to help in this lifetime. Maybe you can imagine now all of the people, the resources, the team, the supporters being magnetized to you. And the more you speak your truth, the more you shine your light, the more the other shiny people will be attracted to you. So the game is to be brave and be bold. Find your tribe, find the like hearts and the like minds. And if I can support you in any way, do let me know. You can drop me a message. Maybe let me know how you found this process, or what your project is, or what you're working on, and maybe we can collaborate. And this is one of the most important parts of unity consciousness. If there is just one thing and we're all a part of it, then there is no competition. Collaboration is the way of the new world. It's the way of the new earth. In unity consciousness, it makes no sense for one part of us to go without while the other hoards billions or trillions. And so let's transform this world. Let's create these new systems. Thank you so much for everything that you are and everything that you do. When you're ready now, just coming back fully into your body, breathing deeply into the belly and out, bringing with you all the best things from this session. Letting go and leaving anything that doesn't serve you, asking that that's all transmuted into love and sent to the highest and best place for it at this time. Trusting that you know exactly what to do. Maybe thanking this amazing body that you have. This amazing body that allows you to play this game, to feel, to enjoy all of the amazing things that this world has to offer. When you're ready, you can have a nice stretch, take a deep breath, open your eyes, and very slowly, there's no rush. I'd love to invite you to just spend a couple of minutes just journaling down, just write down, if you have a pen and paper, anything that came up for you in that process, anything that came up for you that you feel is important. When we journal things down, it's a very powerful thing because we take things from the etheric realm and we bring them into the physical realm. You have those thoughts that you received today are unique to you. Those energies, those frequencies, those codes are unique to you. Maybe you'll make a video about your experience that can go viral and help millions of people, or maybe you'll write a blog, or maybe you'll just share it with a friend. You can be the person who helps their flower bud in their heart blossom. Might take a day or a week or a month or 10 years for them to open. Not trying to force people to be what they're not. There's no point going into your garden and shouting at the apple tree to produce apples faster. It's not going to help. So thank you all so much for being here today. I really do believe we did a huge thing. I'd love to hear from you, what your experiences were, and please do join us for the Peace on Earth conference through Zoom video conference on the 6th of November, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. UK time. It's completely free. I'll post a link below for the visionaries. Just join. You can join our group. We have a Facebook and a Telegram group, depending on which platform you like, and come, bring your energy, bring your love, bring your big heart, bring your ideas, bring your skills. If you do know anyone who would like to experience this, this has been streamed on all my social media channels, so please do share this out with anyone who you feel could benefit. My absolute pleasure. I have so many free journeys and meditations on my YouTube channel. It's called Luke Scott Official. If you just type in Luke Scott Official Meditations, or send me a message, I can send you the info. And for those of you who like this, who are into this kind of an experience, I have a completely free Facebook group you can join. I have 14 hours, 14 hours of these kind of things, completely free, can upgrade you in all ways. It's called DNA Activation with Luke. If you just type in DNA Activation with Luke on Facebook, you'll find the group. Or come and join our Curate tribe if you want to learn this quantum healing modality, if you're open to it, especially if you're a master healer. We get a lot of Reiki masters, hypnotherapy masters who've been doing it for 20 or 30 years. And the way we do it is just so different. It works on this amazing quantum level. And if you are a complete new practitioner and you feel like you know you have the desire to come and become a healer and become an activator and hold space for people, we would love to have you in the tribe as well. So my name is Luke Scott III, and I'll just leave you with this final piece. So I'd love to invite you to take a nice deep breath in and out. I believe we are living in the Great Awakening, that this is one of the most incredible times to be alive. The internet allows people in any country, in the jungle, in the desert, even with the satellites or whatever it is you believe we have now, you can get signal in these most remote places, and they can watch a YouTube video and learn meditation or learn quantum healing or learn or tune into this activation. It's such a phenomenal time. And if more people did wake up in the last 3 years than in the last 30 years, that is going to grow exponentially over the next 3 years, and especially if you add your love and energy to it. If you are sucked in sometimes to the doom and gloom of the mainstream media, that's what they want you to do. They want you to be in fear. It's a part of the trap. And it is really important to look at a problem so that you know how to solve it, but don't get stuck on the problem for too long. Focus on the solutions. Look at the problem long enough to understand it, and then come in to solution mode. You can get sucked into the rabbit holes for so long, it can bring you to, and this is my experience, I cried for so many days, so many nights about the atrocious things happening on the earth. And now that I'm solution focused, they don't affect me in the way that they used to, because I'm using these energies more constructively instead of internalizing them. So like my wife with her beautiful anger yesterday and being so upset with these things that's happening, use that as fuel to create your poems or your music or your events or your art or your business or whatever it is, your community, your tribe. Buy land, live together, grow food, whatever it is that your truth is. Inspire the next generation, teach them all of these things that we're talking about today. And I believe that you have a very special role to play. So thank you for everything that you are and everything that you do. And if I can help you in any way, please do let me know.